Hello, my name is Michaela Garcia. I am currently a student here at Lone Star College. As of right now, I am in my second full semester as a speech student. The average age that parents decide to get their children their first pet is between the ages of 5 and 6 years old, according to the American Academy of Pediatrics in the year of 2019. Now this leads us to the question of which animal is the best to get. In my opinion, I believe that cats are a better choice for first-time pet owners as opposed to dogs for a number of reasons, which I'll get into today with each of my main points. My main points today are going to be that cats are much easier to take care of as opposed to dogs. Cat schedules are a lot easier to follow for the owner. Cats don't need nearly as much attention as dogs would, and that cats can take care of themselves in a lot of ways. So going into my first point, that cats are easier to take care of as opposed to dogs, I'm going to be discussing how litter box training is easier in comparison to potty training, which is what you would have to do for dogs. For potty training puppies, what a lot of people will do is the bell method, where they have a bell by the door where the dog would go outside, and the puppy learns to ring the bell so they can go, or they can let the owner know that they need to be let outside. Or they will use the potty pad method where there's pads on the floor. There's all kinds of different potty training methods, and all of them are proven to have taken a lot more time as opposed to litter box training. Because with litter box training, all they really have to do is they'll mimic the mother. So if the mama cat knows how to use a litter box when she needs to go to the restroom, her kittens will see that behavior from her and they'll want to copy her. Even if a kitten grew up without a mom that knew how to use a litter box, or they were separated from their mother, they can still be taught fairly easy. With kittens and cats, all you really need to do is have the litter box provided for them and then correct their behavior as they make mistakes. So you show them that when you need to use the restroom, this is where you go, and then you really only have to correct them a couple of times after that, and they kind of pick up on it. Next, I want to be talking about how they don't require much physical objects and space in your home, as opposed to dogs. All you really have to do is provide food for them, water, make sure they have access to their litter box, and then give them an appropriate amount of attention each day, and they're basically good to go. So with food, it's easiest if you make sure that you feed them during your own meal times. Cats are better off if you feed them twice a day. So if you make sure that you give them their breakfast when you have your breakfast and their dinner when you're having your dinner, it's an easy way to keep track of it and you don't have to worry about it as much throughout the day. As for water, what's best is just to have something available to them 24 hours a day. And with cats specifically, they recommend that you have some sort of a flowing water, whether it be a fountain or any other way you can make that possible for your cat, because it helps them to be interested in the water and they're more likely to drink it so they can stay better hydrated. As for the litter box, you want to make sure that you don't have a door shutting it off and that they can get to it when they need to use it, so that way you can avoid any mistakes and accidents. Now going into my second point, that cat schedules are easier to follow. Cats don't need to be let inside and outside all day long. It's not a cycle like that. Cats are perfectly content with being inside all day long. They don't need to go outside like a dog would to play or use the restroom or anything like that. You can leave them inside and make sure they have access to their food, water, litter box, and they're basically good to go. Another thing about cats that makes their schedules easier to follow is that they can self-play. So you don't have to carve out a huge chunk of your day to make sure that your cat's getting the appropriate amount of attention, or that they're getting exercise and playtime in, because they will play with themselves. They're perfectly okay with playing on their own. So if you offer your cat towers or scratch posts or the dangly cat toys or all kinds of, any cat toy really, they will be perfectly fine playing on their own with themselves, and you don't have to make sure that you're setting aside a large portion of your day just so you can play with your cat. Next, cats thrive on having a routine. So according to Ingrid King with The Conscious Cat in the year 2015, cats are territorial animals, so their routines will develop around your schedule and your household routines. So basically what that means is that whatever schedule and routines you have implemented in your own family and your own household, your cat will pick up on that and they will start to adjust their schedule around that too, so that they line up, which is beneficial to both of you because then y'all are on the same page, and it just makes day-to-day life a lot easier, assuming you're sticking with a consistent routine. So going into my third point, that cats don't need nearly as much attention from you as dogs would. Basically, all cats really need from you is a few minutes a day where you're giving them attention. So I know I've mentioned a couple times now that cats don't need nearly as much attention. You don't have to give them as much time. That does not mean that they don't require any attention from you. Obviously, you still need to make sure that you're playing with your cat and grooming your cat and cuddling your cat and petting them. All of those things are still important because they're still a living creature that requires those things, but it's not nearly as much compared to dogs, which makes it easier if you've never had to deal with taking care of another species or animal or anything like that before. Next, cats are nocturnal. So what that means is that they are sleeping most of the day and they're awake at night and playing around at night. So they mainly just want to sleep really when you're around, which is good in some ways. The only thing that I wanted to touch on this is that means that in those early morning hours, in those later evening hours, that's really when your cat's going to be super affectionate, and you're going to want to make sure that you're taking advantage of those times because that's when y'all schedules are starting to line up. As for cats being nocturnal, they're sleeping most of the day, so they don't really need you to sit there and play with them all day long because they're going to come out and do that once you're asleep. So, going into my fourth and final point, that cats can tend to themselves. So cats are self-grooming animals, which means when they're dirty, they will go and groom themselves. They'll lick themselves to clean themselves, and they'll detangle their fur, get all that extra fur off of them, so you don't have to bathe them weekly or bi-weekly or whatever it is you would have to do for a dog. They don't require that. The only thing that you really need to make sure that you're doing is brushing them so that you can help them get all that extra fur off of them. And then if they do get dirty and you need to give them a bath, you just have to make sure that they get fully dry afterwards and take care of them. And make sure you're not using irritating soaps and sprays on them because their skin can be really sensitive and you can dry it out, and that's not a good thing. Another way that cats can tend to themselves is that they'll help themselves to the restroom. They don't need to be let outside to go to the bathroom. You don't have to put them on a leash, walk them around in the middle of the night. You don't have to worry about them whining in their crate because they need to go to the bathroom. All you have to do is make sure that you have a door open to the room that has their litter box in it, or make sure they're in the room with it if you're going to close the door so you don't have to smell it or something. But you don't have to consciously think about it as nearly as often as you would with the dog. All you have to make sure that you're doing is that you're cleaning their litter box, making sure they have access to them, and then making sure that they're keeping up with their grooming. And then of course daily things like feeding them and making sure they have water. But they even have automatic feeding and automatic watering dishes. If that's something that you don't want to have to worry about, then you really don't have to worry about it. All you have to do is make sure that you're filling up the automatic feeders and waterers so that they can dismiss them every day. So to conclude, I would like to reiterate each of my main points, which are that cats are easier to take care of as opposed to dogs. Cat schedules are much easier to follow for a pet owner. Cats don't require nearly as much attention from the owner as opposed to dogs, and that cats can take care of themselves. Thank you.